How bad could the penalties be?
Well, what we've heard from our sources is that this is going to be quite serious. They're looking at some unprecedented penalties for the company as they look at what to do about the company's decision to proceed with this IPO, despite some pushback from regulators, including at the Cyberspace Administration. So what we've heard is that the company could face a very high fine, perhaps the suspension of certain operations, or some state investor that would come in and get involved in the company. Another more extreme option would be a forced delisting of its shares in the U.S., or perhaps some sort of withdrawal. It's not clear how something that extreme would work, in particular because they went public on a U.S. exchange, so it's not clear what authority Beijing would have over that. But this pushback is coming because Beijing views Didi's decision to proceed as sort of a challenge to its authority. So they're looking at penalties more serious than what they hit Alibaba with. That was a fine of $2.8 billion and a forced change to some of its practices to improve the treatment of merchants and some of their customers. So it's very serious.
Yeah, and Peter, and that was already a record fine for Baba, right? On the upside, though, is it almost better if they're slapped with a big fine, they show contrition, and then the business can be allowed to move on?
Well, it's a good question. Yeah, if they could just pay a fine at this point, maybe that would be the simplest way forward. It's important to remember, though, that the fine is now approaching the amount of money that the company itself was able to raise in the IPO, so it kind of undercuts their effort to fill their coffers and gain some capital for the business. And it could be more than a fine. I mean, that's the key thing, too. We need to see what the other implications are. The sources did tell us that these deliberations are quite early at this point. Many things could change, so it's not exactly clear what is going to happen. But at this point, it looks pretty serious for the company.